A man from Arizona, grieving for his mother who had recently died, donated her body to science for research purposes as she had wished for, only to discover that she would be sold, strapped to a chair, and blown up by the military. Even I couldn't make this up. Let's find out more about how and why this happened, and please subscribe, thank you. Doris Stauffer was a loving grandmother, and for the last year of her life, she had been suffering from Alzheimer's disease, although doctors argued that she did not possess the gene for it. Doris spent her last years in a hospice, and was visited regularly by her son Jim. In 2013, at the age of either 73 or 74, Doris sadly passed away, and during this difficult period, doctors approached Jim with a request of donating his mother's body, particularly her brain, to science, in order to study it, in a bid to help understand and cure others from the disease in the future. If Jim agreed to this, his mother's body would have certain parts taken for research, and the remainder would be cremated, with the ashes being sent to Jim's house. Jim knew that his mother would have wanted to help others, as she was a caring lady, and so after much deliberation, Jim agreed. Doris's body was kindly donated to the Biological Resource Center in Maricopa County, Arizona that was founded in 2004, after Jim had spoken with them to find out what the neurologists do, and seemed to trust them, just like dozens of other families who had opted for the same thing. Jim completed the relevant paperwork, specifically ticking a box that prohibited military, traffic safety, and other non-medical experiments. As sad as Jim was, a service was held for Doris, and true to their word, Jim received some of his mother's ashes in the post from the Biological Resource Center 10 days later, but with no explanation as to how his mother's body was being used. That should be where this story ends, but unfortunately, there is more than one hell of a creepy development. Reports surfaced of the Biological Resource Center in Arizona selling and harvesting organs. Instead of researching body parts for the greater good, they were in fact human body brokers. Doris Stauffer's hand had been detached from her body and cremated, and were the ashes Jim received at his home. Her brain was never used for Alzheimer's research. In fact, her body was sold for $5,893 to the military, who had plans to use it for reasons that made me physically sick. Doris's body was one of 20 or so dead bodies that was used in blast experiments arranged by the Pentagon, without any permission from the donors or their relatives, in a serious violation of U.S. Army policy. It is alleged that the military were using the dead bodies of humans to test IEDs and bombs, as mannequins were not fit for purpose. It is reported that Doris was strapped to a chair, and had an explosive device detonated under her chair. Her body was in pieces, and the hand was all that was left to cremate and send back to her son. As disgusting as this is, the Army aren't completely at fault here, as the paperwork from the Biological Resource Center is alleged to have been tampered with, in order to profit from the deceased. It would turn out they had sold over 20,000 parts from 5,000 human bodies over a period of a decade. The former owner Stephen Gore pleaded guilty of fraud in 2015 and was sentenced to his undisclosed term, probably a small fraction of what it should have been. Documents revealed that body parts were being sold for specific prices: $5,893 for a whole body, spines at $1,900, legs at $1,300 each, and torsos at $3,500. When the FBI raided the center in 2014, they discovered severed heads tossed into trash bags, pools of blood, and a fridge full of penises. Even more disturbing, the FBI found a torso with a different head sewn on, like some kind of Frankenstein. After watching this, would you ever consider donating a departed loved one to science, only for their bodies to be blown up with enormous explosives, or simply have a solemn burial or cremation service? Let me know in the comments. I'm off for a lay down. Please subscribe, thank you.